This lesson is about classes in Python. Classes are significant in programming, and they're not specific to Python. A lot of other programming languages supports classes. We use classes to define new types. For example, we've been using basic types in Python like numbers, strings, and booleans. We also use dictionaries, lists, and tuples, which are a bit complex. There is no doubt that these are very useful. However, think about a keyboard. A keyboard is not a number, string, list, or dictionary. It is something else. We can use classes to define these types of real-world models and concepts. So, how to define a class and use it? That's what I'm going to cover in this lesson. We start by defining a class by using the class keyword. After that, we give our class a name. Observe the naming convention we are using here. The first letter is capitalized. This is what we call a Pascal naming convention. The naming convention of classes is different from the naming convention of variables and functions. We always use lowercase letters for variables and functions, and we separate multiple words using an underscore. But when naming classes, we don't use an underscore to separate multiple words. Instead, we capitalize the first letter of each word. Here, the class name has a single word. If we had multiple words, for example, keyboard brand, we had to write it like this. The first letter of each word is capitalized in the class naming convention. Let's remove this part and add a colon here, then hit enter. We're inside of this class now, so whatever we write in this block belongs to this class. In this block, we define the methods of the keyboard class. For example, we can define a method called definition to explain what a keyboard is. Notice here, as soon as we type open parentheses, PyCharm automatically adds self here. This is a special keyword that represents the instance of the class. We will learn more about it in upcoming lessons. For now, in this method, let's print keyboard is an input device. Let's define another method, number of key. In this method, let's print there are 101 keys. Now remove the indentation and we're done with the definition of our keyboard class. Like function, after the class definition, we should use 2 line breaks here. It improves the readability of the code. So this class is a new type now, and we can create an object of it. An object is an instance of a class. A class is like a blueprint or a template for creating an object. An object are the actual instances based on that blueprint or template. So, how to create an object? It's pretty simple. To create an object, we type out the name of our class. Then we call it like a function. This creates a new object and then returns it. And we can store the returned object in a variable. Let's call it my keyboard. Now when we use dot operator, look, we have these 2 methods we defined, definition and number of keys. We also have some other methods starting with 2 underscores. These are called the magic methods, and we will learn more about them in upcoming lessons. Now let's call the definition method of our keyboard object. Run the program. So we can see the message, keyboard is an input device, is printed on the terminal. Let's try the number of key method. Run the program and we can see the output here. In classes, we can use attributes. These attributes are like variables that belong to a particular object. For example, type in my_keyboard.brand. Here, this brand is the attribute, and set it to Logitech or any other brand you want. Now we can print this attribute. Let's print myKeyboard.brand. Run the program and we can see Logitech on the terminal window. Let's create another object. I'm going to store it in new_keyboard variable. Then type out the object, use dot operator and call the definition method. Run it. We can see the definition again. Although the definition is the same, this object is entirely different than the first object. If you print the new keyboard.brand, then run it, we get this attribute error because this new keyboard object does not have the brand attribute. So each object we create is a different instance of the keyboard class. Now here we can assign a value to the new keyboard.brand and the value is Dell. Run the program and we can see the attribute value Dell on the terminal window. So this is how we can create a class to represent a real-world object or concept in Python.